Today, I'm going to teach you how to master Canada on F1 2025, going through in intricate detail about every braking point, clipping point, and exit zone of every corner on the track. Going also in how to adjust a time trial setup to maximize its capability in a racing situation. Then also a full speed hot lap on how I use my ERS and battery to maximize my lap time potential as well. With that being said, we have arrived at turn 1. You'll see the sort of white concrete on the right hand side of the track, or where this Pirelli barrier is ending on the right hand side. This is where I like to be braking for turn 1. Ideally, I take the concrete reference rather than the barrier, as for me it's a bit more precise. So we'll be going here, hitting the brake at 100% initially, then trail braking into your apex. 4th gear for the first turn, and you're looking to go right up to the limits of the white line. 2 wheels on this sort of painted red surface on the left hand side, and you'll be clipping over the curbs there. Keep the car to the middle of the road as you open up corner 2, and as you do that, you'll be reaching your clipping point and going down into 3rd gear. Let the car rotate naturally, then try to get the car opened up on its steering wheel angle and pointing towards the outside of the track. And you can use 2 wheels on the outside curbing here, and the grip loss won't really affect you. And if you get it spot on, opening the steering wheel sooner will of course mean you get better grip, because you're making the car do less work, and you can use more track width on the exit and gain lap time potential by doing that. Coming in to what is turn 3 and 4, there isn't really a braking reference marker for this turn, and it is oh so difficult to absolutely nail, but you can be braking about 10 meters before the 50-meter board at the top left-hand side of your screen, and that's a decent reference to be using. Going down into 5th gear, and it's all about full commitment over these inside curbings. Try to get your 2 left-hand side wheels right up on the white line, and of course your 2 right-hand side wheels over that red painted surface on your right hand side. Coming down the hill in qualifying spec, you can run 2 wheels over the grass. It will make the car a bit unsettled, but it will be faster. In the race, if you don't feel so comfortable doing that lap after lap, you can just put 2 wheels on the curbing, but this will make the angle of the corner tighter and cost you lap time potential. If you can get comfortable with running 2 wheels on the grass, then it will be helping your lap time potential. On the exit, run right up to the barrier, and then keep the car in a straight line. In real life, they go over to the left here, but to be honest, it's not necessary in the video game, as you have enough grip and friction isn't slowing down the car that much in the game, so you don't have to worry about opening up the corner. Just try to keep the car nice and tight to the wall, as now you're going through the right-hander. Again, there isn't a distinct braking reference for this corner, but about halfway between the 100 and 50 meter board is about right. So aiming 75 meters before your apex slipping point, and you'll be braking hard. My intuition and my natural desire is to try and use this road on the right hand side here, but trust me, it's better to avoid it in most cases. The reason for doing that is this surface has been cleaned and it's got high grip to it, but whereas this surface is deemed off track by the game, so it's quite dirty and dusty and will be lacking rear turning stability if you decide to be turning in with your 2 right hand side tyres over this white line. So although it looks inviting to use the extra road, trust me, it's better to stay away from it in 99.999% of times. I'd say the only time it's better to be using it is if you're racing side by side with someone and you need the extra track width. Try to go only 2 wheels on the red and white part of the curbing here in 4th gear in qualifying. I also like this in the race. It helps the car be a bit more stable. If you drop it down into 3rd, the car sort of unsettles a little bit with a gear change clunk and will be leading you to lack of traction on the exit if you're not careful. Go too much over this red painted surface on the inside here though, and you end up clipping the grass as you try to rejoin the track. As you can see from my front left tyre, it now has grass in it, what of course will be limiting your traction potential. You're just trying to open up the right hander as much as possible here, and then using the car in a straight line and put 2 wheels just kissing the outside curbing. You don't want to go really any further than where we are right now, because it's quite bumpy and can be losing you a bit of traction if you're not careful. DRS wide open. And this is where you have 2 approaches to this corner, so we're going to run through them both. You can either approach from a wider angle, and this will give you better lap time potential, or you can approach from a tighter angle, and this will be a much safer approach, but cost you about 1/10 of lap time potential as well. So we're going to run through them both in detail. The reason why approaching wider has a better lap time potential to it and is faster is quite simply because you're straighter for longer in the braking zone, so you have better efficiency slowing down the car and setting up your following apex. The risky part to this though is this barrier sticks out quite heavily and it's easy to chip your front wing on it. Of course, you don't want that both in a qualifying lap or in a racing situation. Whereas if you approach the corner from a tighter angle and then you're pointing towards the outside, it actually allows you to be a better ability to miss that clipping point of the barrier, then open up the corner a bit more before you have to turn in like we're doing so right now. So if you feel comfortable that you can run a straight line without hitting the outside barrier, then do it. Travel in a straighter line in the braking zone, maximize your potential and lap time. But if you feel a bit nervous by this barrier, then approach at an angle and then use that angle to avoid that extra barrier sticking out underneath the bridge. With that being said, you will be braking quite hard going into this corner, and there's a little bit of a sneaky little line here. If you look over to the right hand side here, there's just a patch of grass that's almost floating in the air. Wow, I've not seen that before. Anyway, so this patch of grass is very, very difficult to avoid. So you can see if we go over it, we get grass on the tyres, but we're still technically in the track limits. So what you really want to do to get this line absolutely perfected is you want just to scoot around the grass here, and if you can get the angle of attack for the corner like this, it means that you maximize your track width, go over the inside curbing, but without picking up any grass. So you'll see that in our hot lap example after we finish this slow lap in just a second. On the exit, 2 wheels on the orange part of the curb. The reason you want to be accelerating on this is the normal part of the curb, as you're going to see right now, is quite bumpy and you can see the car moving around quite a bit. But the orange part of the curb is completely smooth. So although they both are lacking grip compared to the normal tarmac of the track, by being on the orange part of the curbing, at least it's smooth and you can be accelerating in a more predictable way. On the exit of the corner, you want to be using up all the road possible, right up to the grass, as quite simply, extra track width is better to be on that exit of the corner. Very easy to get snap oversteer as well. Often you'll drop the brake bias down by 1 click, down to 53 in this example, 100 meter board before the hairpin. You'll be braking at 100% braking pressure and then releasing the brake pedal slowly as you get towards the apex. In third gear, you want to be hugging the inside of the curb here right now, and then you have 2 choices. I'll show you what one I prefer, but I like to get the car straighter sooner than travel a longer distance straight on the exit to maximize my traction potential. But there's also another approach, what is basically exactly the same speed, it just comes down to how you like to be approaching it. In third gear, you can run the car to the outside of the track, and then you have to do your acceleration in a different way where the car isn't straighter for longer and can be compromising traction. The benefit of my first approach, what I prefer doing, is you get better, more consistent traction onto this long back straight. But the benefit of doing the wider line here is you can carry more minimum speed throughout the corner, and then if you get the traction perfect, your exit speed will be half decent as well going onto the back straight. So pick what one you like. Personally, I like doing the first approach. It's more consistent and doesn't make as much rear tire dead because I'm risking less chance of getting wheel spin. Flying down the back straight right now, DRS wide open. Of course, pit entry is ahead of you, but we're going to be looking to travel through the chicane. No real braking reference for this corner. The sort of only things you really have are these sort of huts on the left hand side, but when you're traveling at over 200 miles an hour in the game, it's very difficult to see them. So aim for the 50 meter board and add 10 meters to that, so it's going to be about 60 meters, and if you want to be conservative, add about 65 for your braking zone as well. With that being said, you'll be going down the gears and then you'll be looking to try and get 2 wheels over this white line on the inside. Here's a really tricky thing about the game. If you can get 2 wheels to be over the inside white line but also have 1 wheel always in contact with the track and over the white line basically, or inside the white line I should be saying, then you will not get a track limits invalidation to your lap. as you can see, we just did right there. So that's a really good example that we went too far on the track limits, and what you're really looking to do is always just have one wheel touching the track at all times, and that means you can skim across the chicane and maximize your track limit potential. The same is almost true for this left-hander, but you don't have to do it so exaggerated because this curve is here on the left-hand side. What's a bit of a big curve if you ask me, and you do not want to be hitting that. So if that curve wasn't there, then you would be basically traveling a straight line over the second curving as well. But because that second part of the curve is there, you want to be avoiding it and then traveling your car to the outside of the circuit, DRS wide open for the run to the line, and try to keep the car to the right-hand side if you want to qualify in the lap to minimize the distance to the start finish and maximize your chance of doing a new PB lap time. So let's get into showing you the setup. Then after the setup is done, I'll show you a full speed example of how I attack the lap. So this setup is taken from the time trial world record leaderboard here on Canada. As you can see, it's 35.27, 130 all the way to the left, 38.9, 8.21, 21.48, 53 bias, but of course I used that in the hairpin, so I think it came stock at 54. Either one would be good. 54 for the majority of the lap, 53 for the hairpin would be ideal, and maximum tire pressures to go with that. So initially looking at this, how would I adjust this to be a half decent race setup? Well, first of all, in qualifying, you can maybe get away with this lower wing. The car will be a bit slidey, but you can just about get away with it. Adding a few clicks of rear wing will really help you in the race and try to be maximizing the traction and minimizing tire deg. A big one also, I would instantly go up to 50% off-throttle differential when you're running such an aggressive wing differential, especially on a track that's so easy to overstress the rear compound tires and add massive deg to them in the process. So that's my initial thoughts on what I would do to be adjusting this time trial setup to be good in the race. Now let's jump over to seeing a full speed lap with my setup on how I try to attack the track. Here we go then, in GP mode for the full speed example. I'm going to be breaking down my era strategy and how I use the battery for you in this segment of the video as well. I'm using the McLaren because from what I understand, the equal cars or multiplayer is based off the McLaren, what is the fastest car in GP mode. So with that being said, let's get into the lap. Using the overtake button up until 7th gear and then putting it back down to medium through turn 1 and turn 2 as we talked about in the slow lap, and we're only going to be using overtake and medium in this lap. So now using the overtake button up until 6th gear on the exit, drop it down into 5th, use the grass on the inside as much as possible, and again burning the overtake until 7th gear, 54% braking bias, and use the curb on the inside like we mentioned as well. Keep the car stable and using that overtake button enabled with a DRS until you get to 8th gear, and now avoid that patch of grass on the inside like I talked about earlier and use the curb on the exit. The car can be moving around a little bit, but it is quite quick, so just stay with it, using the battery until halfway through 7th gear before arriving at the hairpin. Use up all the roads you feel comfortable to do so on the exit, and as soon as you're really confident with 100% power, activate that overtake button and burn it down until 10% as you get ready to brake for the final chicane into the corner, send it through in 5th gear and use up the rest of your battery on the way to the start finish line. What's going to be a 1 minute 8.2, what is going to be half a second faster than the world record here on Canada, of course, in time trial mode. And we did a 1 minute 8.2, and at the time of recording, the world record is a 1 minute 8.7 set by Tom Manley. So there's the confirmation of the lap time, 1.8 seconds faster than the 110% AI in the F125 game. Looking through our sector times, we did a 19.0, a 21.6, and a 27.5 as well in the final. So very happy with that lap, and hopefully that can give you a bit more detail on how you can extrapolate performance as well. So there we go, that's how you can be mastering Canada on F1 2025. That final lap on GP mode, driving the McLaren, was done on my setup that you can find in the links of the description in this video down below. The time trial setup that I showed you how you can adjust and make it decent for a race is also a free setup part of this video series that I'm going to continue building upon going forward, and how you can make the time trial setup raceable as well. With all of that being said, thank you so much for watching. I've been Brendon Leigh. Enjoy the Canadian GP. Hopefully it's a banger, and I will catch you for the next video. Grazie, ciao ciao, bye bye.